It is said that the burdens we carry often become too heavy to bear, and in our weakest moments we find ourselves overwhelmed with a sense of futility. We look at our efforts, exhausted and worn out, and wonder if it is all worth it. The path ahead seems unclear, the obstacles insurmountable, and we cannot help but feel like we are trapped in a cycle of striving without relief. Yet, in the very depths of this weariness, there lies a simple and powerful truth: we do not have to carry our burdens alone. There is a power greater than ourselves, one who understands the weight of our fatigue, the depth of our struggles, and the longing of our hearts. And this truth is not a mere comfort, it is a call to surrender, to leave it in God's hands. Life can often feel like an uphill battle. We wake up each day with plans, goals, and responsibilities, but at times everything seems to pile up and overwhelm us. It's easy to feel like we're not enough, or that our efforts are in vain. When the weight of the world feels too much, when the exhaustion seems unbearable, we must remember this powerful truth: the ability to persevere is not solely within our strength, but in our trust. We are not meant to carry the burdens of life alone, and when we feel weary, it is time to leave it in God's hands. In the book of Matthew, Jesus offers a promise to those who are tired and burdened: "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest," Matthew 11:28. This invitation is not just for the moments when we are physically tired, it's for the times when our hearts are heavy, when our spirits feel drained, when we have given all we can and still feel empty. It's in those moments of surrender that we find true rest, not in the absence of work, but in the peace that comes from knowing that we don't have to do it all by ourselves. When we try to take on everything, when we assume the weight of our responsibilities and our fears, we forget that there is a higher power who already knows what we need. Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight." Our understanding is limited, but God's understanding is infinite. His plans for us are greater than we can imagine. When we place our trust in Him, we open ourselves to a peace that surpasses all understanding. The act of letting go and surrendering our control is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it requires great strength to trust that God's plan is better than our own. There is a verse in 2 Corinthians 12:9 that speaks to this. "But He said to me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Our weakness, our exhaustion, and our limitations are not barriers to success, but opportunities for God's strength to shine. When we acknowledge our need for help, we allow God to step in and carry the load for us. In times of uncertainty, we may not always understand the path we are on, or why things are happening the way they are. But we can take comfort in the fact that God sees what we cannot. Isaiah 55:8-9 tells us, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways." God's vision is far greater than ours, and His understanding of the world is complete. When we leave our burdens in His hands, we trust that He knows what we cannot see, and that He is working all things together for our good. The invitation to rest is not an escape, it is a call to renew our strength in Him. Isaiah 40:31 reminds us, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles, they will run, and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." This promise is for those who place their trust in God, who surrender their burdens and lean on His strength. When we leave it in God's hands, we find not just rest, but renewal. So, no matter how tired you may feel, remember that you don't have to carry it all. Trust in God, let go, rest in His presence. He knows your struggles, He sees your efforts, and He promises to give you the strength to keep going. Leave it in His hands, and let His peace guide you forward. Life is a constant journey of struggle and growth, and in that journey we often find ourselves weary and burdened. We push ourselves, striving to meet the expectations of the world, and even our own expectations. But there comes a time when the weight of it all becomes too much. We feel tired, defeated, and ready to give up. In these moments, it's important to remember that we are not meant to carry these burdens alone. God is with us, and He knows exactly how tired we are. His promise is clear. He offers rest to the weary, a peace that transcends understanding. In Matthew 11:28, Jesus extends an invitation to all who are tired, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." This is not just an invitation to rest from physical exhaustion, but an invitation to release our mental and emotional burdens as well. We often carry heavy loads, whether it's the fear of failure, the pressure to succeed, or the pain of past mistakes. But Jesus is reminding us that we don't have to carry it all. We don't have to fight every battle by ourselves. When we come to Him, He will provide the rest and renewal we need. Sometimes we think that rest is something we earn or something we only deserve after achieving a certain goal. But rest, in the way God offers it, is not earned, it is freely given. Psalm 127:2 reminds us, "In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those He loves." God's rest is a gift, not a reward for our effort. It's a reminder that no matter how hard we try, we cannot do everything on our own. We need Him. And when we rely on His strength, we find peace and rest. Trusting God in times of weariness requires surrender. We must let go of the need to control every situation, to fix every problem, and to have all the answers. Proverbs 3:5-6 teaches us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight." When we surrender our worries, our stress, and our burdens to God, we acknowledge that He is in control. His wisdom far exceeds our own, and when we trust in His plan, we can be at peace, knowing that He is guiding us. There will be times when we feel overwhelmed and exhausted, but we must remember that our strength comes from God. Isaiah 40:29-31 offers us a powerful reminder. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint when we feel tired. It is not the end of the road. It is the moment to lean on God's strength, to rest in His promises, and to allow His power to carry us forward. In the times when we feel like giving up, God is inviting us to trust in His provision. He knows we're tired and He understands our struggles. All He asks is that we come to Him, lay our burdens down, and allow Him to carry us through. When we trust in God, we will find rest, peace, and renewed strength to face whatever comes next. So, when you are tired, remember that you do not walk this journey alone. Leave it in God's hands, and He will give you the rest you need to keep going. In the hustle and bustle of life, we often find ourselves running on empty. The demands of work, relationships, and personal goals can leave us feeling depleted and discouraged. We give all we have, but sometimes it feels as though it is never enough. Yet, in those moments of exhaustion, there is a simple but profound truth that we must remember: we are not meant to bear these burdens alone. God, in His infinite wisdom, offers us a kind of peace and rest that we cannot find in the world. When we are weary, He invites us to surrender our struggles and trust that He will carry us through. In Matthew 11:28, Jesus extends an open invitation to all who are tired. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." This promise is not just for those who are physically exhausted. It is a promise for our souls. When life becomes overwhelming, when we feel the weight of the world pressing down on us, Jesus calls us to rest in Him. This rest is not an escape from our responsibilities, but a deep, soul-refreshing peace that allows us to continue with renewed strength. We are often taught that success comes through our own effort, through our striving and our striving alone. We are conditioned to believe that we must always push harder, work longer, and do more. But the truth is, there are times when the most powerful thing we can do is stop. Stop striving. Stop pushing. And trust that God is in control. Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight." When we stop relying solely on our own efforts and surrender our burdens to God, we open ourselves up to His guidance, His strength, and His peace. It is not in our perfection or our endless striving that we find peace, but in our willingness to surrender. There is a grace that is greater than our own strength, and it is found in letting go. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, Paul shares God's words, "But he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness.'" This verse speaks directly to our struggles, reminding us that in our moments of weakness, God's grace shines brightest. When we feel like we've given all we can and still have nothing left, it is precisely then that God's strength is made perfect in us. We may not always understand why we face certain challenges or why we feel so tired at times, but the Bible assures us that God sees us, that he understands our struggles, and that he is with us every step of the way. Isaiah 40:29-31 offers a comforting reminder. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. This is a promise for those who place their hope in God, those who trust that he will provide the strength and rest they need to continue the journey. When we are tired, we must remember that God does not leave us to fend for ourselves. We are never alone in our struggles. Jesus is always by our side, ready to take our burdens and give us the rest we so desperately need. It is in him that we find true peace. So, when life wears you down, when the weight of the world feels too heavy to carry, leave it in God's hands. He knows you're tired, and he is ready to give you the strength and rest to carry on. There are moments in life when we feel like we've given everything, yet still fall short. The weight of responsibilities, the endless tasks, and the overwhelming pressure can leave us feeling drained and defeated. We think we should keep going, pushing through with all our might, but sometimes we reach a point where our own strength isn't enough. It is precisely in these moments that we need to remember this powerful truth: we are not meant to carry these burdens alone. We are not meant to rely solely on our own efforts. God, in his infinite wisdom, is ready to take the weight from our shoulders, and we are invited to rest in his strength. Matthew 11:28-29 offers us an invitation from Jesus: "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." This rest isn't about abandoning our responsibilities, but rather about finding peace in the midst of them. It's about surrendering our need for control, letting go of the idea that we must do it all ourselves, and trusting that God's plan will carry us through. When we take his yoke, we are yoking ourselves to the one who holds the universe, the one who never grows weary, and the one who knows the way forward even when we cannot see it. The world tells us to keep pushing, to work harder, to never stop, but God invites us to take a different approach: to trust, to surrender, and to rest. Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight." In those moments when we feel lost, when we are unsure of what to do next, we can trust that God knows the way. We do not need to figure it all out on our own. We simply need to trust that he will guide us. The peace that comes from this trust is not fleeting. It is a deep, abiding rest that strengthens us for the journey ahead. It is often in our weakest moments that we encounter God's greatest strength. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, Paul shares what God said to him: "But he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness.'" Our weakness is not a sign of failure. It is an opportunity for God's grace to shine through. When we feel like we have nothing left to give, it is then that God's strength becomes most evident. We are not asked to be strong on our own. We are not asked to rely on the one who is all-powerful. Isaiah 40:29-31 offers a beautiful promise. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. No matter how tired you may feel, no matter how heavy the load seems, God promises to renew your strength. When we place our hope in him, we will rise again, stronger than before. So, when you feel tired, when the world feels like it's closing in on you, remember that you do not have to carry the weight alone. Leave it in God's hands. Trust that he knows exactly what you need, and he will give you the rest, strength, and guidance to carry on. You are never alone in your struggles. God is with you, and his grace is enough. Resonates with many of us at various points in our lives. Leave it in God's hands. He knows you're tired. Life can be exhausting. We face challenges, uncertainties, and emotional burdens that sometimes feel too heavy to bear. Whether it's work, personal relationships, or the everyday pressures we encounter, it's easy to feel drained, overwhelmed, and at times hopeless. But there is a source of strength we can always turn to: our faith. The essence of this message is simple. When life becomes too much to handle, when we feel that we have given all we can and yet still face struggles, it's okay to step back and leave it in God's hands. God knows what you're going through. He understands your tiredness, your pain, and your inner battles, even when no one else does. You are not alone in your struggles. The act of surrendering is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of faith. It's recognizing that while we have the ability to work hard, make decisions, and do our best, there are things beyond our control. It's allowing ourselves to trust that there is a higher power, someone who has been guiding us all along, and that He knows exactly what we need sometimes, even before we realize it ourselves. By leaving our worries with God, we free ourselves from the constant stress of trying to solve everything on our own. We invite peace into our hearts, knowing that we can rest in His care. And in that space of surrender, we find the strength to keep going. God does not want us to bear the weight of the world on our shoulders. He invites us to share our burdens with Him and trust in His plan. So whenever you find yourself tired, overwhelmed, or lost, take a moment to pause, breathe, and release your worries into His hands. Trust that He knows what you need, and that with His guidance you will find the strength to move forward. Thank you, and may you always find comfort and peace in knowing that God is with you every step of the way. In conclusion, when life feels overwhelming and you find yourself exhausted from the constant struggles, remember that you are not alone. Leave your burdens in God's hands. He understands your pain, your exhaustion, and your heart. Trust that He knows exactly what you need and will guide you through even the toughest times. Sometimes the most powerful act is surrendering your worries to a higher power, knowing that He will provide the strength and peace you need. So, take a moment to rest in His care, for He knows you're tired, and He is always there for you.